able to find common ground with people that you might otherwise be opposed to is the great comedian and cultural commentator Jimmy Dore. This is a fantastic conversation with Jimmy. We talk about Rescue the Republic. We talk a lot about Bobby Kennedy coming together with the Trump campaign and what that indicates. And most of all, we talk about the necessity to end war and what the outpourings of perpetual war are domestically here in the United States. Hope you enjoy this conversation. Stay with us. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for joining me today, Jimmy.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
We're here to participate in Rescue the Republic, and at this point, we've not done it. You've just heard from Rob Schneider that we should slow down when we're on the stage.
Yes.
How do you feel about being part of this, Jimmy? Because had the way that the last 6 months has unfolded, if it had happened in the 80s or even the 90s, one would imagine the news events around the assassination attempts would have garnered more attention and lived longer in the cycle. Something as seemingly seismic as someone like Bobby Kennedy joining the campaign of a rival, fundamentally, I suppose, crossing the aisle during a campaign. It would be reported on significantly, but the only reporting you see on Bobby Kennedy are smears and attacks. The only reporting you really see on Trump is sort of endless amplification of his flaws and failings. I just wonder, as someone that sort of like me is really, at least culturally, was a figure of the left, how you're continuing to navigate this, or have you sort of flung off all concerns about that at this point?
Well, I think the reason why it's not a bigger story is because nothing is a story unless the media decides it's a story, right? And then they decide how it's supposed to be a story, right? So they don't want Trump's assassinations to be a big, or attempts to be a big story. They don't want it to be a big story that Bobby Kennedy's shifting over. What they want to be as a big story is his sex affair, where he didn't have sex. It's the craziest thing I've ever heard. They want the fact that he's being investigated over a whale. They want that to be a story, or that he found a dead bear. They want these things to be the story. They don't want the actual story to be the story. So that's the big problem with the media, right? When I was younger, the news media used to be blue-collar people like me, people who came from working-class backgrounds. And now, since it's only 6 companies that run all the media in the United States, you have these journalists that come from Ivy League universities that are handpicked by the billionaires to go do, and they're happy to do the propaganda because they know they're going to be class loyal. And that's the kind of media we have. We have class loyal Ivy League pukes that are giving us our news and shaping the culture. And so that's why we're living in the world we're living in. That's why Kamala Harris, the story is, which they never talk about, is that she became the first presidential nominee without ever getting a vote. That's the whole, and they call her a queen. I've been in comedy clubs and they call her a queen. And I guess by queen, they mean someone who was, installed by the elite without any votes from the populace. Because that's really happening. So that's the big story, but they'll never talk about that. They let her not do, she's not doing interviews, she's not taking questions. And when she does do an interview, it's with Oprah, it's more of a rally than it is an interview or a hard-hitting. So again, that's the problem. The problem is the news media, they control the narrative. That's why we're at this thing today. I'm there to talk about the First Amendment because the establishment on the left and the right want to get rid of the First Amendment. They don't want you to be able to have free speech. That's the thing that screws them up. John Kerry's there's a video going around today on social media about him saying that's the problem. We can't reach a consensus because of social media. That's good. That's good. But they don't like that. And so that's why all those things aren't bigger stories than they should be.
A brief pause to hand the floor just for a moment to some of our important sponsors and partners over here at Rumble. Stay with us, it's just a minute. Airports and planes are heavy EMF exposure zones due to Trump that can now legitimately be called an anti-establishment movement. Do you think that when you mention Kamala Harris appearing on Oprah and it seeming more like a rally, that we're now, of course it's common to talk of the silos in the information space, but when I think like that, you and I, figures that are typically associated with the left, are doing events and participating in sort of like online forums or round tables or symposiums or things that amount to campaigning, along with people like Tulsi Gabbard or Vivek Ramaswamy or Tucker, or it's starting to look like, I wonder how they can continue to maintain the idea that there is something anti-establishment or pro-civil rights or almost the inheritors of the mantles of the great civil rights activists of the 60s, like, Martin Luther King or Malcolm X. But how can they, because when I see something like that Oprah spectacle, I like the movies of Ben Stiller and the movies of Meryl Streep and stuff, but to me, it seems like now these are entirely separate worlds where there are sort of pundits that have come out of entertainment, say, like you or me, but coupled with people that come from the business space or the military or law, speaking about Bobby Kennedy and Tulsi, all ultimately saying, in order to disrupt this project of globalism and totalitarianism, even if Make America First and MAGA and all that stuff is, to some degree, of course, a nativist movement, this presents a kind of disruption to something that's more nefarious than what they're trying to present as the threat of dictatorship and tyranny, the sort of strongman demagoguery of Trump. What do you feel when you see those two worlds? And is it even possible to speculate on how this is all going to pan out, Jimmy?
Well, like I said, I think it's going to pan out. I'll be surprised if the CIA allows Trump to become president.
What does
as my
don't
friend
half-ass
Russell
it
Douglas
mean
says,
to you?
If he does become president, he has to rethink everything.
If you're going to do it, do it. Say what you can do. Do what you say. If you can't do it, don't say you can do it. Don't over-leverage yourself. Don't over-leverage your decision and then jump in and kind of dip a toe. I think I'll try it out. No, think if you're going to try it out beforehand, but when it's time to go, dive. Finish it. Find out. Come out the other side. Don't leave it and go, ooh, if I just would. That keeps me up at night. I think it keeps a lot of us up at night. When you half-ass something, you just don't know whether you failed or succeeded, got what you want or didn't get what you want. Finding out and looking in the mirror and going, I didn't half-ass it. I went all the way. I found out, and that ain't for me. Or I found out, and you damn right that is for me. That's a great place to get to. But the limbo of not knowing, if you half-ass something, the limbo of going, I hedged my bet.
What could have happened?
You don't know.
Were you surprised when your dad said that to you?
Yeah.
When you were going to take a pivot in life trajectory?
I wouldn't have been in the top 100 things I thought he would have said. I was fully stabilizing in that moment. As I said, I called Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. He'll have had a beer. He's already had dinner. Not Monday because that's the first day of the work week. He'll be a little more stressed. Catch him at Tuesday when I unload this that I don't want to go to law school, I want to go to film school. And I really thought he was going to go, you want to do what? Again, the family I grew up in, the idea of me thinking that the idea of going into film, it's like a very Saturday idea, a hobby idea, not a job. And when I shared it with him, the pause that he took, another bead of sweat started on my back of my neck before he goes, well, don't half-ass it. Now, I will say this, though. I do know now, and I didn't know it then, I've realized it in the last 10 years, the way that I asked him is part of the reason he gave me that answer. I really wasn't asking him. I called him and said, Dad, what do you got, monkey man? Said, I don't want to go to law school anymore. I want to go to film school. I didn't go, I'm not sure about law school. I think I may want to go to, if I'd have stuttered into that, I think he would have, again, heard me half-assing what I wanted and gone.
In the process of being told to not half-ass it, you didn't half-ass it.
The way I asked. He asked, and he heard my own conviction. And I think what he had in that moment was what I think every parent wants to hope to have with their kids, is that, we raise our kids to go in a structured form. Follow this, and you can get most of what you want in life. And that can work. But what do we really want our kids to do? We want them to follow that and then bust out of it one day and not even ask our permission. And that's when we're going, that's my boy, that's my girl, that's my child. We want them to break out. And I think what he heard then was I was breaking out without really asking his permission. And I was clear. I spoke up. I didn't stutter. My voice was out of my throat a little bit. And I think that was part of why in that moment he gave me the answer, don't half-ass.
Do you think that sentiment carried forward into how you got the role for Dazed and Confused? That I'm going to continue to lean in, I'm on the front foot, I'm 10 toes down?
Yes. Now, how much that direct sentiment from that night when he told me don't half-ass it had to do with that? I mean, yeah, it did have something to do with it. Look, when he said don't half-ass it, he was, and I talk about this in the book, he wasn't only giving me permission, he was giving me a responsibility. He was going, I had his word with me in my future decisions. I was making them for more than myself. I wanted to fail less because I didn't want to embarrass him. And that was extra motivation, extra strength, extra courage, extra sobriety, extra like, well, let's find out. Go for it, man. Go for it. It carried on into other stories of other jobs. Time to Kill with Joe Schumacher going, I want the lead. That's me going, I want to find out. And Dad told me not to half-ass it back there a few years ago, you know. So if I don't go for it, if I embarrass myself, I'm embarrassing him. So that was also some incentive and some weight behind those moves that I made, some of them.
Are you a brave person in that way, do you think?
I don't know. People say that I don't think I take enough risk. I'm told that people whose opinion I admire think that that's my greatest asset, that I take the risk I'll take and the bravery I'll take with me.
And you still have a hunger for more?
I think I'm still chicken shit. I mean, not overall, but I think there's many things that I'm not fully assing. I think there's many things that I'm still could take further, that there's still many things that more risk I could take and more bravery I could have. Yeah.
Could you tell that story, the Dazed and Confused story of leaning in, of taking that risk?
Yeah, so, I mean, the initial one started when I went on a Thursday night, went to my favorite bar at the top of the Hyatt because I knew the bartender. He was in film school with me. He'd give me free vodka and tonic, so I went there. I get there that night. He brings me and my girlfriend vodka and tonic, tells me, hey, there's a guy at the end of the bar producing a movie. Let me introduce you to him. I walk over and introduce him to him. 4 hours later, that man, Don Phillips, legendary casting director, who was actually a producer on Dazed and Confused, we get kicked out of that bar. I've had as many vodka and tonics as he had since I sat down, so I'm not leaving easily either. And I'm standing up for my new friend, who we hadn't done anything to get kicked out of the bar. We really hadn't. We were just kind of standing on top of the tables, imitating some golf shots we had played on similar courses in the past. So we get not so politely escorted out. And he's in a cab, or we're in a cab. He's riding with me to my apartment, going to drop me off before he heads back to his hotel. He pulls out a joint, or I pulled out a joint, start smoking. He goes, hey, you ever done any acting? And I said, man, I was in a, Trisha Yearwood video for a second, kind of more of a modeling job. I was in a Miller Lite commercial for about that long. I go, I don't know if you call that acting. He goes, well, you might. Come to this address tomorrow morning, 9:30. You might be right for this part. It's this character called Wooderson in this movie, Dazed Confused. I think you might be right for the part. Now, this is 3-something in the morning, so 9:30 came really quickly, and I was on time probably 5 minutes early. And we were already pretty tuned at this time. Now, mind you, I get there, I walk in, they go, Matthew? I go, yes. They go, Don left the script for you. I open it up. It's signed by him. Hey, here's the part. Wooderson, I got 3 scenes in there, 3 lines. They're all marked. Check them out. I think you might be right for it. Good luck. Let me know. We'll call you in for an audition. I go away. I go look at these 3 lines. One of them was what I like to call these days a launch pad line, which is a line that sometimes they'll have in a script where if that character means that line, and that character's not playing that line as an attitude or a wink or a joke, if that character means that line, you could write a book on it. You could write a book based on that reality. And that line in Dazed Confused from the character Wooderson was a line when he's leaning against the wall outside the pool hall. High school girls walk by. He checks one of them's backside as they go by, and his buddy says, Wooderson, you got to cut that out, man. You're going to end up in jail. And Wooderson says, no, man. That's what I love about those high school girls, man. I get older, they say the same age. That line, I went, who is that? There's a book on somebody. If that's not trying to be cute, if that guy's not trying to say something coy and clever, if he believes I've got life figured out, man, this is my North Star. So that line informed who the character was. I go, I read for it. I remember the first time I got called back because they said the sound was bad. And now looking back, I don't know if the sound was bad or the fact that I just needed to come back. It was an excuse to come back and read for Richard Linklater, the director, who I did read for, and I got the part. Now, the role was also based on, as I wrote about in the book, who I thought my brother was when I was 11. My 17-year-old brother was already my hero. He was cooler than James Dean. And we had one day where his car was broke down, and my mom and I were supposed to pick him up from school, and he wasn't where he was supposed to be. We're looking for him. I'm looking at the back of our station wagon, and there I see this silhouette of this guy leaning against a brick wall, left boot heel against the brick wall, leaning back, lazy cig in the right hand, smoking, and it was my brother. And in that silhouette, he was 13 feet tall, coolest dude in the world. And just as I went to go, wait, there's Pat, I remembered I was going to get big trouble for smoking, so I won't say it's him. My mom goes, who? I go, nothing. But that image in my 11-year-old eyes, that was Wooderson. So we get to the set one night, and I just go in for what's supposed to be a makeup wardrobe test, meaning put on makeup, put on wardrobe. When the director, Linklater, can leave the set and gets a minute, he comes, checks you out, eyeballs, gives you a few notes, and you say goodbye. I'll see you when I come back for work. Well, on this night, I come out of the trailer. Linklater shows up, has a look. As he's walking up, his hands go out, and he's just going, yeah, Wooderson. He's like peach pants. Is that a nudes t-shirt? Oh, I like that. What's that over there, that tattoo? That's a Black Panther tattoo. He goes, yeah. Look at the hair, the comb over. I like it. I said, cool. About to say goodbye, I think. And he goes, say, man, he goes, you think, Wooderson's been with the typical hot chicks in school, the cheerleaders and stuff. I'm like, yeah. He goes, you think Wooderson would be interested in the redheaded intellectual? And I'm like, yeah, man, Wooderson loves all types of chicks. And he goes, well, listen, the actress Marissa Ribisi is over here in her car. She's got her nerd friends in the back. It's the last day of school. You think maybe I'm going to pull up and try and pick her up? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, okay. You want to do it now? I said, give me 30 minutes. I took a walk. Now I'm about to be in my first scene. There's nothing written. I've not done this before, but I'm going over scenarios. Where are we? Last day of school. I got some change in my pocket. I'm working for the city. Sure, redhead. Next one, we're going to go out. I'd probably speak a little Spanish. Pop. Next thing I know, I'm in the car getting a lavalier mic put on me. I'm getting a little anxious, but I'm going, who is my man? Who is Wooderson? What do I love? What do I love? What I love? As this mic's getting put on me, I'm like, I love my car. I said, bam, I'm in my 70 Chevelle right now. There's one thing I got going for me. I said, I love rock and roll, man. I said, shit, man, I got Ted Nugent Stranglehold rocking in the 8-track. There's 2. I said, I love getting high. I said, well, man, Slater's riding shotgun. He's always got a doobie rolled up. There's 3. And that's when I heard action. And as I looked up, dropped it into drive, thought of the 3 things I had while I was going to get the 4th, and I said to myself, and I love picking up chicks. In drive, pull out 3 affirmations of the 3 things I did have on the way to get the 4th. All right. Pull in, have the scene, try and pick her up, ditch the geeks in the back, gonna be a, fiesta in the making, whatever it was, kind of spoke a little Spanglish, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden it was over, and a lot of people are laughing. And Rick comes up and goes, oh, that's great. We'll try it one more time, do this, that. Did the scene maybe 2 times, 3 times, I don't remember. And finish it. I get out. People are laughing. I just had fun. I think Cochran in the seats, Roy Cochran, the actor who played Slater, in the shotgun seat, he's giggling. He's like, that was good, man. That was good. And I'm like, cool. And all of a sudden, I'm about to leave, and Rick invites me back the next night. Got put in some other scene. Anyway, he invited me back every night for 3 weeks. And I worked 3 weeks. Now, what I found out 2 years ago was Rick also asked me that night on the sidewalk, hey, you think you'd be interested in the redheaded intellectual girl, is because Rick he had just noticed that night that they had a story hole. They didn't know what car they were going to go, I think, pick up the Aerosmith tickets in. And who else had a car. Pickford had a car, and I was the only one who had a car, and I had a guy who had a job. And he was trying to start to fill a story hole. He didn't tell me this till like a year ago. And that's why he invited me into that first scene at the Top Notch Barbecue where I said those 3 words, which were the first words I said on screen, which were the 3 affirmations for the 3 things my guy did have. And I think they came from, not intentionally, but leading up to that role, I was listening to a lot of Doors. And there's a live track of Morrison at some Doors concert. I don't know where. I think it's in Europe somewhere, where he barks out, all right, all right, all right, all right. Very aggressively, not Wooderson style, but like 4 or 5, all right, all right, all right, all right. And somehow that popped. I had no plans, but it popped in my head in that moment as being, let me take that version, just give 3 of them for the 3 things I've got for myself, but in a more laid-back, cool way. All right, all right, all right, pulled up.
How did it feel to have that positive reinforcement so quickly, out of nowhere, both privately and then publicly after?
Well, I mean, it felt fun in the moment. It felt good. And then it became public right there with the crew and the cast. Now, publicly, it became a year and a half later. I mean, look, privately on that, I remember going, that was so much fun. I think I was good at it. People are telling me I'm good at it. I'm getting invited back. And then the other thing was, I'm getting scale. I'm getting $330 a day. And I'm working a job at Catfish Station waiting tables, and the most I've made there in one night is $73. And now I'm getting $340 or whatever it was for doing this. I remember going, is this shit legal? Is this real? I don't know, what am I getting away with here, man? Yes, I'll come back for the pay and because it's so much fun. And then I think you probably know the story. 5 days in, my dad moved on. Rick and I were just talking about this the other day because his father just moved on a few days ago. We were talking about yesterday. I went home, came back to work. Still had going through morning with my dad, but had that sobriety that comes when you lose a loved one to death. You talk about sobering up and courage of the world, even more than my dad tell me don't half-ass it. Him passing gave me some real courage, man. I mean, of looking at the world straight in the eye and not being intimidated by mortal shit anymore. And so it really helped me stay and focus on the role. Had a great time. Probably a little quieter than I was in the first 5 days. More to myself a little bit. That's where Rick and I kind of became more friends than just director or actor at that time, because he was the kind of person I was talking to about how it was feeling and how to deal with my dad's death. I finished that. I go back to University of Texas, graduate film school. On the way out, already packed up at the U-Haul, get the Texas Chainsaw Massacre job for like 5 weeks, which was super fun. Another under-the-table cash for play that part. Unloaded the U-Haul and drove out to Hollywood. And a year after that, I would say, when Time to Kill is when all of a sudden I noticed, oh, wow, I'm famous. I've cashed a new check that I didn't know about, where I say the world become a mirror. There was no more anonymity. That was a whole new drug.
I think one of the themes of your worldview that I've become familiar with is alchemizing bad times into good ones. A reminder that things that seem bad can end up being good. And in retrospect, I think it's obvious and almost romantic to think about that alchemy in that way. But in the moment, it's basically impossible.
Yeah.
How can people, or how do you have more of that perspective during a hard time?
Yeah. Well, look, a couple things. First off, I probably start off intellectualizing something that I know I probably should believe in but don't believe in it, and convince myself, even to an extent to trick myself, that, to sit here and go, well, you just tell yourself, this too shall pass. Okay, great. Well, what the hell's that mean? Even if it's true. In the moment, you're like, what are you fucking talking about, man? I'm in the debit section. I'm in a warning section. This sucks. I think that how much I'm conscious of it or not, my undeniable optimism and faith that this isn't all it is. And if it is, so what? That's okay. Well, then really, so what? You know what I mean? What's the big deal? It minimizes. I seem to have a tendency not to make a bigger deal out of things that other people make a bigger deal of. Dramas. I don't like to create false drama. When it comes and it's hard, I am affected. I get the blues. I get sad. I get mad. I'm a shit to be around. I can't get to sleep. I got demons in my own head trying to work the riddle out. Why did this happen? That's the other thing that's tough for me is I think that any bad thing that happens to me, my initial reaction is, well, what'd you do wrong to lead to this? Like in a relationship. Camilla and I get in an argument. My mind immediately goes, well, what'd you do in the last 2 weeks to let this get to a point where you just had to raise your voice? Or she had to raise her voice at you? Usually there's some P's and Q's that were not handled to get to that point. So I like it when things are running like this. The challenge when things are running great is we all tend to think, aha, this is it. I've found it. Bottle it. If I realize this, I can maintain this forever. And the truth is bullshit. No, we can't. But we can minimize it. There are habits that I notice of things I take care of in my life, health-wise, faith-wise, father-wise, husband-wise, that know that if I'm doing that consistently, there's less valleys. There's less stress. There's less warning signs. There's less problematic, oh shit, how'd we get in this? So there's consistently behaviors that I know I can act upon that have worked in the past.
We'll get back to talking to Matthew in 1 minute, but first I need to tell you about Maui Nui. Not all meat is created equally, and that is why I partnered with Maui Nui. You might be thinking, why have you only got one Maui Nui stick? And the reason for that is that all of the rest of them were eaten. If that doesn't give you credibility of just how nice these are, I don't know what will. Maui Nui delivered the healthiest red meat on the planet directly to your door. It has the highest protein per calorie ratio on the market, up to 53% more than grass-fed beef, and it is the only stress-free 100% wild harvested red meat available. These venison sticks are a complete life changer. I take them with me when I travel on the road or I need just convenient quality protein throughout the day. I absolutely love them, and so does Tim Ferriss and Andrew Huberman and Peter Attia, because they're the best. Right now, you can get 20% off your first order by going to the link in the description below or heading to mauinuivenison.com/modernwisdom using the code modernwisdom at checkout. That's MAUINUI venison.com/modernwisdom and modernwisdom at checkout. I'm fascinated by people who take responsibility for things that aren't their responsibility. We often get told pieces of advice in the modern world. It might not be your fault, but it is your responsibility. And one of the ways to unburden yourself is to assume that everything is. But there is a cohort of people.
Oh, it's an arrogant notion. Yeah.
Look at how if only I could have stepped in. Yeah, you make yourself
but
the center.
But also the first side. I'm the reason that I stepped in shit, which is also an asset. Even if someone goes, why are you giving yourself so much credit for screwing that up?
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
I mean, look, I think part of this for me comes from we didn't get in trouble in my family for the bad deed. We got in trouble for getting caught. So times where I can screw up and get away with it, I feel better than times that maybe I didn't screw up as bad but got busted. Because I got caught, because I got busted, because I got myself in the pickle. Because things didn't go how I wanted it to go or how I believed it could go.
Is there something that you try to remember about the upside of a crisis during a crisis, or do we just need to ride that out? Because I think that perspective,
that's a good question. Yeah, right.
Zooming out would be so beautiful. And in retrospect, if only you could give yourself the gift of distance, of time.
Yeah.
And yet you know something hard is going to come again, and you're going to be swept away by the wave.
I mean, for me, I think it's an obvious dance of the both, because you can't jump to the objective right away and go, inshallah, oh, fate'll have it, this too shall pass, I'm fine. No, because then you don't deal with the crisis. I do have a pretty quick threshold for being able to laugh, like honestly start giggling when I'm in the shit, because I've found that I'm able to handle the shit better if I just the quicker I start going, are you kidding me? And I'll get objective and remind myself things like, you gonna die, McConaughey, which gives me that, this is not as big of a deal as I thought. I also quickly somehow comes in my head, not right now, but one day this is gonna be a great fucking story. I quickly go to that. I'll project forward into those places that ease me a little bit, and at least maybe look at it with a good eye.
You're almost imagining being that future you, laughing back at this present you.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to the faith and belief that again, I'm nervous before I'm going to go speak or something. I got a little thing in my wallet. You're going to die one day, McConaughey, and I'm like, oh, that relaxes me. If I'm going in, complacent, I got another note. I'm telling myself, what you're about to say and do will outlive you, so you better fucking do it well, to get me more on edge.
This balance is so fascinating. Being able to thread that needle, being able to find the golden mean, as Aristotle talked about. But yeah, I've heard you say that you should make a sense of humor your default emotion.
Yeah. Linklater and I came up with that in a conversation about 12 years ago. Richard Linklater. And we were just talking about how mad and angry and upset and offended people get if they don't know how to react, if they don't have an opinion on something. I mean, we're like, yeah, man, wouldn't the world be a better place? Be easier to get along with everybody if the default emotion, if you're not sure how to respond, was it? Okay. Now, most people think, they go, well, that's insensitive. But it's not insensitive. You usually think that means you're not giving the crisis credit if you can laugh at it. And I wholeheartedly disagree.
Oh, that there's some sort of tribute in solemnity.
Yeah, that you're not core enough about it, man. Whatever that, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, you're not taking it seriously. You're actually putting me down, and just because you're saying you don't feel victimized, and you laugh at this situation, you're telling me you're making fun of me being a victim. And I'm like, no. I'm trying to deal, because especially when we talk about the book, if it's inevitable too. I laugh a lot quicker when I know I'm in an inevitable pickle. I have no other resource to get out of it that I know of. So I'm going to start giggling a little quicker so I keep my eyes open and figure my way. Because sometimes the hard work and the endurance and the elbow grease, the work harder we were talking about, that hustle is not the way out. Sometimes I need to back up, laugh, have a sip of my favorite whatever, and dance my way through the raindrops out of this sumbitch. Maybe it's not banging your head on the wall. Maybe it's backing up and seeing, oh, I got a key in my pocket that unlocks the door. I've been bloodying my skull over, banging into it.
I do wonder why. I like being serious. I'm serious about the things I do. I'm serious about this podcast, as you might be able to tell by the fact we've renovated an entire barn. But there is something that you can take that too far. The seriousness can become a kind of rigidity as opposed to being dynamically persistent. Taking things too seriously, not swaying in the breeze.
Right.
Presuming that you like the things you do and you want to keep doing them, the less robust and flexible you are, the more likely you are to break in those ways. And I think that humor is a lovely bit of ballast that helps to balance that out.
I would frame it this way. Be very serious about sense of humor. Be very serious about comedy. I'm extremely serious about comedy. And do I take myself seriously? Yes.
Thanks, man.
But also take seriously the shit I don't. Do I want to know everything? Yeah, but I also take seriously the shit that I don't know, and go. Be serious about that you don't know that. Be serious about that this is freaking funny, or at least it's gonna be. So I try to take the comedy seriously. So I think we can take sense of humor seriously. We don't have to create a new category. I need to be lighthearted or more careless and carefree. We can just care more maybe about the validity of a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
Instead of it being a relief. So let me let go of the pressure here. No, it's almost like it's not another bucket. It's in the same bucket of commitment and persistence and endurance. And
talking about that balance between good times and bad times, and the lessons that we take from each. Heard a quote recently that said, "Every man knows reflection and introspection when he's at his lowest." Bad times, you can't do anything other than wallow in retrospective assessment.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite things I've learned from you is when things are going well, given that that's presumably what you want to have more of, maybe worth deconstructing that.
Yes, I wish I could more, and I think more of us could all deconstruct our assets. Happiness, you can't guarantee it, but there is a science to satisfaction. There, you can look at habits that engineered less pain in your life, maybe more pleasure, but at least less pain, and that's a win. I try to deconstruct. Look, do I write it? Did I used to write as much? Look, anybody who's ever kept a diary. What's the old sort of nostalgic idea of a diary? You go there when you're in pain and you share thoughts that you don't want to share with anyone else, of those reflection. And I did used to, for some reason, I don't know why, but would force myself to write every day, no matter how happy I was. And I didn't a lot of times want to go write when I was happy, because I was like, no, I don't need to write it. I don't need to become conscious of it.
I'm having too much fun. It's getting in the way.
Come on, I'm doing it. It's living, it's happening. And in writing Greenlights, when I went back, that's a lot of the consistencies that I found that I wrote when things were going well, that I was taking for some reason, taking time to go, can I try and bottle some science here to why things are going well? And I did find consistencies. Who I was hanging out with at night, what I was drinking, what bar I was at, what food I was drinking, how exercise, preparation for work, for school. And I found things I was like, you were really happy in this segment of your life. Let's go back and look at what you were doing. Oh, man, I had augmenting scrolls. I was on them every day. I had some discipline where I was checking in with myself. Oh, you were going to church on Sundays. You were saying thank you, God, before you went to bed each night. You were appreciating more. You were pointing out beautiful things and not taking them for granted. And so I found a list of things. I'm like, and when I get off track, I try to remind myself, you've been slacking on some of those. And I could pull it off. I've evolved. I got different ways. I can get away with some now. But, I've definitely found consistencies, and I think we all have them if we just notate them along the way, that they're not by accident. Because we sure as hell deconstruct the reasons when we're in the funk, and we don't believe they're by accident. We can take ourselves to behind the woodshed and show ourselves exactly why we're guilty for every reason, and condemn ourselves for every damn reason we got to that spot. Yeah. Well, if we're going to do that, I just say, let's cheers. Let's have a cheers on the way for all the things that will work for when we have shit going right. Also knowing that it's not forever, that we will have a mountain to climb here shortly.
Isn't it interesting? So much of content that people like to consume, books, podcasts, autobiographies, memoirs, is deconstructing the success of others. So we'll happily dissect success in other people,
right,
and yet only dissect failure in ourselves. This odd asymmetry where we bestow all of the glory on those people. Well done. And I must find out how to do it more, even if it doesn't fit me, even if they're a different constitution, different background, different time. For me, I'll focus on the negatives.
Right.
There's a really interesting stat around the likelihood of you ensuring that your dog completes a course of antibiotics is about 95%. The likelihood that you ensure that you'll complete a course of antibiotics is about 50%. So we're prepared to look after an animal twice as well as ourselves.
I wrote a note the other day, man.
What does that say on the back of your phone? The sticker?
Oh.
Choose to shine. Very cool.
My daughter gave me that.
Yeah.
I wrote the other day, and then most of what I do is I use this notes app, right? And I wrote the other day, where is it? It was on that note. I was like, what's my best advice I need to give myself right now? Is listen to my own damn advice.
Yeah.
And it followed that up with, where is it? Trying to live with less gravity and more backbone is a salty task.
What's that mean to you?
Kind of live lighter with less gravity. Live lighter, not take certain things so seriously, but still have the principled backbone, because as I'm getting older, we get older, and the black and whites turn to gray, and then there's a great word, compromise, we all say, which is such a mature thing to do. And then all of a sudden we let things slide, and then we start going, well, change will happen. Hey, change is inevitable. Let change happen. And I'm not ready. That's part of getting old, I think, not just getting older. Same with cynicism. It's a disease of getting too old. And I'm not ready to, I don't want to be ready to give up certain things. I'm going, no, man. The beauty of ignorance, those things that we believed in. I've gotten away with so many things because of my ignorance. I'd be dead 14 times in this life if I wouldn't have been ignorant of the situation I was in. And so, yeah, not knowing or knowing what we know, it's anyway, yeah, it's more backbone to hold on and be principled to what I stand for, what I stand against, when it becomes easier and easier to just go with the flow. And I'm not ready to go, let's just go with the flow. I don't want to pick the wrong battles. I'm trying to be discerning and not picking the wrong fights, because I like picking fights and going after challenges. But I'm in a place, I'm kind of like, man, it's tough duty to win the fair fights. And there's a lot of unfair fights out there. And why do I want to spend my time, if I got 24 hours a day, picking unfair fights when I'm going to be busting my ass to win the fair ones?
Well, also picking fights with yourself. You hinted just there at the difficulty of a negative inner voice. You take things seriously. You care about what you're doing. You want to achieve things in this world, which means that you need to have high standards.
Yep.
You need to posit an ideal. But as soon as you posit an ideal, you then begin to compare yourself to that ideal, and often you find yourself lacking because it's a fucking ideal.
Yep. I think it's why a lot of relationships don't work. We make her Wonder Woman, and she makes us Superman, and neither one of us can live up to it. And that we've got that bulb, that honeymoon bulb, turned up to 100 watts, and the honeymoon's over. We're trying to deal with some real base stuff. Let's leave it at 20 watts. We're just lit, but we're not just feverishly, superhuman. And I think a lot of us just purport that on someone else, and they can't live up to it, and it ends up not being fair to them. And then they do the same to us, and we both walk away going, I underwhelmed.
Do you know the idea of the Michelangelo effect? Have you heard of this? Awesome. So the Michelangelo effect describes a situation in a relationship, friendship, or intimate partnership where each partner sees the best in the other and tries to help bring that out. So the sum of the parts is greater than it is individually. And the reason I love it is why it's called the Michelangelo effect. So the block of marble that David was carved from had been attempted by a number of other sculptors previously. Huge, monstrous thing. If you've ever seen David in person,
I have.
Ginormous. People can't, and when you're looking up as well with that angle on the plinth, it's even bigger. Previous sculptors had attempted and failed, but Michelangelo saw inside of the marble what was David, and he just needed to get away all of the things that weren't. I love that idea.
Yeah.
I think in life you want to be finding people that believe in you more than you believe in you, that hold you to higher standards.
I think that's the definition of a good friend. I think that's the definition of a good partner. A good definition of a good husband, wife. That they remind us of the best of ourselves. They shine that light and remind us, because we do. I know I do. I put the blinds on it, and I don't see it a lot of times, and I'll be reminded. This has always been a thing for me. And I don't know how this correlates, but I've never been as good in my dreams as I am in real life. I never win the day, get the girl, ace the test. I can perform in my dreams. I never have, as well as I will in real life.
I think I'm the same.
And I guess what I'm saying is I'll pull something off. I'm like, did everyone see that? And my friends are like, no shit. That's you, bro. What's the biggie? You know what I mean? It's kind of what I like about living in Austin, Texas. they're not really impressed with shit that I pull off. They thought it was cool. I won an Oscar, but they were like, well, no shit. You know? And I was kind of like, oh, all right, yeah, thank you, man. That's, you know, and that's what friends will do in a way. Loved ones will do that and be like, yeah, there you are.
Again, it comes back to that. It's so much easier to be supportive and gentle of other people than of ourselves. You know, you will happily bestow this sort of gentle, reassuring pat on the shoulder when somebody succeeds or falls short when they tried their best.
Right.
Yet, given the fact that you tried your best, you give yourself a kick in the dick on the way out of the door and a harsh word to follow you.
Yep. What do you think about when you do succeed and a lot of people go, nope, that's nothing. I prescribed it. I think we should take some time to be able to look in the mirror and own that thing that we pulled off and go, good job. That's what you wanted. That's what you got. At the same time, be able to, as we do more often, look in the mirror when we fail and go, bogey, you did not pull that off. You know what I mean? But I mean, it's kind of big in the ownership idea, the fail or the game, ownership being really important. And I'm a fan of the ego. I wish people. Someone said this to me before. Look, this acquaintance said this. It came off the cuff. I didn't even think about it. She was like, Matthew, you're so full of yourself. And I, without thinking, I was like, well, who else am I supposed to be full of?
That's a good line.
And I stopped after. I was like, that's exactly what I meant. And I went and wrote that down. I wish more people were more full of themselves. Not in the arrogant way. I'm talking about a healthy ego to understand. And then I understand the ego's difference between I and me.
Right. That's
Me,
why
the
I
objective,
thinks Paul.
to know the I. I wish more people. I wish we were more full of ourselves. I wish more people in the world were more full of themselves. I think part of the challenges in life is a lot of us are running around half-assing ourselves, half-fooling ourselves, not full of ourselves, not studying ourselves enough, not holding ourselves to task enough, not patting our own self on the back when we do get what we want enough, not cracking our own whip on our backside when we do get out of line even though we knew better. I wish we were more full of ourselves that way.
The guy that was sat there yesterday, Dwayne, I asked him something not too dissimilar about self-esteem. He took a little while. He said, I like me. I'd buy me a beer. I just thought, that's so fucking great.
Yeah, man.
I'd buy me a beer.
I'd buy me a beer. Hey, he's shaking hands with himself, you know? And, shoot, man, I got plenty of times where I'm the last guy I want to have a beer with. I'm happy to say I've got some times where I'm like, I appreciate drinking alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be nice. Would that be not more than nice? Is a better word than nice. But if go try to be today someone you want to have a beer with. It's pretty good, easy way. Pretty good bumper sticker. You know what I mean?
Could have been in the book.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the non-deserving complex.
Yeah.
This feels similar.
Yeah. So it definitely, and I think it's called in their term imposter syndrome or something like that. When I got famous off of Time to Kill, I had more people saying I love you, and I'd only said that like 4 times in my life to 4 different people, and I was like, wow. They mean it, you know. The red carpets and caviar. I started to get that feeling. Why me? Why me? There's other people that deserve this more than me, and that's back when I was using the word deserve, which I'm not the biggest fan of now. I prefer earn, but I didn't feel like I deserved it in the big scheme of things. It was I think it's a. We have to. What's dangerous about it? I think at its core, it's a coping mechanism, but it's a false humility.
Yep. I understand.
It's like it's almost arrogant to think that you're you did all that. Even, you know, it's almost like guilt is an arrogant thing. Like, who makes you the judge and jury of you on that? Who, you know, it's like saying, being very arrogant and you go, oh no, not me. I shouldn't have that. It does help you deal when the stimulus of the world's brand new and coming on you. It helps you back up because you don't want to take any more arrows because you're feeling it all as arrows. I sure felt that when I first got famous. Talk about all the options and yeses, brand new yeses for me in the world. I pushed against it, and I even had clumsy times where I got ugly just to counter it. Like I said, I tripping myself running downhill. I tripped myself because I felt like, man, things are going too well. I need a bloody nose. Bam! I give myself one. Now I feel more. Okay, now I'm where I'm supposed to be. Does part of that come with the fact that I grew up in a middle-class, blue-collar family in Uvalde, Texas, out of 12,000 people, from a dad who was like, you get out there and you earn, you break a sweat? Probably. I don't know. I wouldn't feel, so much stuff was coming at me, and I didn't feel like I'd broken a sweat to get it. I was having fun what I did, and couldn't give myself enough credit for maybe he's going, you're good at what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, and I was looking for the proverbial sweat. I was looking for where's the exhaustion of a full working day where I drew blood, man. I did it. I made it through.
Dude, the Puritan work ethic runs strong. I used to struggle. I ran nightclubs for a long time, and there was a period where I didn't miss a single Saturday, which was our big event, for 204 Saturdays in a row. And I would go on holiday. The holidays I was having, I'm 22 to 26, something like that, so prime young guy territory. And I would go on holiday from a Sunday morning until a Thursday evening, and then make sure that I was back in the northeast of the UK.
Why'd you make sure you got back on the Saturday night?
Because I couldn't bear to have success without having bled for it.
Okay.
Because if it... there was so many hoops I had to jump through in order for me to get a pat on the back. Had to go well, because if it went badly, I was less. But not only did it have to go well, I had to suffer in service of it going well.
Yeah.
Because if it went well but came easily, that was also somehow lesser.
For me, I felt like it was a sin, almost.
Yes.
Not a disease, but more of a sin. I was like, I didn't pay a penance there, man. I hadn't given enough tithe. I didn't, like I said, break the proverbial sweat, draw the blood to earn that thing. And yet I'm getting all this. Wasn't able to look it in the eye. Didn't feel it. Needed things to feel. I also needed, at that time, anonymity, which I lost.
Yeah.
And I think everyone needs an anonymous soul. And I had lost mine, and I didn't know what was up, down, left, or right. I got through stuff. If I look back at my interviews the first 2 years I got famous, I bet you they're so damn boring, because my 2 rules would be a gentleman and don't lie. 2 pretty boring rules if that's only what you're going in for and you're creative and you got a colorful life. But I was just repeat it, stay down the line. It wasn't until later on that I was like, oh man, I trust myself enough. I believe myself enough to share how I feel about things.
Yeah. Privacy is one of the privileges that people are born with that they don't realize until they've lost it.
Right.
And this has been a little bit of a trajectory that I'm starting to dip my toe into over the last few years as well.
Of
loss of privacy. Increased scrutiny,
right.
A sense of eyeballs, and even, it's a micro niche degenerate version of proper fame, but still this sort of sense of vigilance being watched in some way or another. And it's one of those odd inverted privileges. Most people think about privilege as something that is bestowed upon you after you have done X, Y, and Z. Yeah. But this is one of those things that as you tend to go on the trajectory most people want to go on, it's something that gets derogated. It's something that you lose.
Sure. And you skip the salutations of hi, how you doing, what's your name? People have bio on you. They have an idea, an opinion for you before you ask for it. Sometimes it's hyperbole to the awesome, too overly exaggerated awesome. Sometimes it's well below. And you walk outside, you don't even have to talk to the world. You feel eyes. You see how people move towards you or move away from you. Or you catch it all in your periphery and you start going, I know what they think. And maybe that's false. Feels a lot better when it's maybe false, but to the, they even think I'm better they think I even think I did better than I did.
But still disconcerting either way.
Either way, it's all found because it's not on par. It's why I headed out to Peru after I got famous. Took the 22-day backpack trip. And I remember writing down. I said, I need to go test who I am, my character, on people who know me as a stranger. And when I left, after 22 days, the hugs and the tears of the no longer strangers after 22 days, but the hugs and the tears were coming from people that only knew me as a guy named Matthew, and that's it, who showed up and met me from there, no biography on me, had no idea I was famous, no idea I was in the movies, and 22 days later, they're weeping tears of gladness and sadness saying goodbye to me. That gave me trust. I was like, I got it. I did this. Okay,
I'm still there.
I got it. I can still fix a tire. I don't have this whole thing isn't just AAA coming to fix the car. You know what I mean? Okay. I needed that. It gave me a lot of confidence to come back to Hollywood and look a lot of what I was deeming excess, look it in the eye and go, I get it. I know I earned getting here. I got the goods. All of this, I may not have earned that. I didn't even ask for a lot of this, but I know I got myself here. Okay.
In other news, this episode is brought to you by Shopify. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the United States, and they're the global force behind Gymshark, Skims, Aloe, and Newtonic. Look, you're not going into business to learn how to code or build a website or do back-end inventory management. Shopify takes all of that off your hands and allows you to focus on the job that you came here to do, which is designing and selling an awesome product. And when it comes to converting browsers into buyers, they are best in class. Their checkout is 36% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. And with Shop Pay, you can boost conversions up to 50%. Best of all, their award-winning support is there to help you every step of the way. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that we use at Newtonic with Shopify. Right now, you can sign up for a $1 per month trial period by going to the link in the description below or heading to shopify.com/modernwisdom, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/modernwisdom to upgrade your selling today. Did you ever have a lonely chapter during your trajectory?
Looking back, I would say I did. I mean, look, I had some wonderfully fun and healthy and honest single years that became sort of revolutions, that became sort of structurally tangent. And it was fun. Stayed on the surface purposefully. I kept it there. They kept it there. But I would still, have many lonely nights when a man lays his head on the pillow. No matter who was in the bed, I was sleeping with me. And felt like many times I was in neutral. Didn't have something that I was building towards and chasing relationship-wise, even career-wise at that time. I got through it fine. I didn't go overboard and overindulge and didn't get dangerous with my health or anyone else's. Mainly because if I get the blues, I'd be like, open your eyes, bro. Look around, man. You kidding me? Take your time. And so, I would say ultimately I was lonely in that time because I knew it was a stop, not a stay, and I knew I wanted more career, relationships, etc. But I wasn't really fully committed. Didn't have maybe the wherewithal, the identity to go actually chase it and go, I know what I want. I want to live a way to attract that. I did have time where I tried to go find it. But as I talked about in the book, I had time where I was every red light, who's over there? Produce section, who's over there? Every party, who's over there? Looking for the one. And once I was like, I had that great dream of the 88-year-old bachelor that I was with all the kids showing up. That dream gave me grace, man, because I quit looking for it. that one. I did start acting like someone, though. My target drew the arrow. I started acting like someone who had a wherewithal and a peace of mind with myself, not needing someone to fulfill, that drew her to me, that I didn't have before that dream.
You've had a front row seat to a variety of rhythms of marriages. Your parents, yours. What have you learned about choosing a good partner?
Oh. Well, I'm still learning, but friends first. I mean, did Camille and I become friends first? No, we became lovers pretty quickly, but the things I respected about her and saw that she had were things that I valued in a close friend. Someone who respected their past, someone who had a great sense of humor but was never going to lie to put themselves to get what they wanted in front of me or take advantage of me. Someone who, was impressed with who I was much more than they were impressed with what I did. Someone who very quickly saw the best in me and was like, I like that. Let's see some more of that, and watered that side of me. As we talked about earlier, see some more of that. Let me put some more fuel on that fire so you can even be more of that. Why not be all of that? Then if you're going to get together, I think this was a Susan Sarandon line when she was married to, what's his name, Tim? Who was Susan Sarandon married to years ago?
An entire room of people shaking their heads.
Great actor, Shawshank Redemption, Tim Robbins.
There we are.
They had a line that said that we have similar moral bottom line. It's always stuck with me. When you're going to partner with someone, especially if you're going to have family, I think, make sure you got a similar moral bottom line. Because, and look, Camilla and I are going through new challenges now because we have teenagers. Our moral bottom line and the do's and don'ts and what's accepted and what we wouldn't accept has been pretty part and parcel up until now. Teens are getting like, well, I'm a little loose over here. Yeah, let them go. Let them go get that scar. Let them go get their heart broke, whatever that is. Let them go try it out, fail or succeed. Let them go negotiate, free play. She's a little more, and so her and I are working on that balance right now. And it's a new balance having teenagers as they're getting their independence. But having a similar moral bottom line, connected to bringing out the best in the partners is having somebody you're a fan of and that they're a fan of you. You call each other on your shit, or you don't have to call it because a look says enough, and you're like, yeah, I know. Yeah, that was me, bogey, or yeah, I got away with that one again. No more, cut that out. And then what I'm learning now, trying to learn, is that it seems we're essentially all the person that, for me now, I think I'm essentially the same person I was 19 years ago. Essentially the same person I was when I was 8, 50, or 1. But our value systems reorder as we grow, independently and as a couple. Your value system changes for every parent when they become a parent for what's important in their life. So you're moving things different places on the chart, in the number 1 spot, the 2 spot, and 3 spot. But to understand that it also happens with us as individuals, and going that we do change, and how do we, even by being essentially the same person that we fell in love with, we still need room to change along the way and go through things that may seem inconsistent with who the DNA of why we fell in love with that person or what we love, who someone was, but no, they're still essentially that, but give them room to change. Give them room to change. Also, I think it's a Springsteen line, you don't, about sometimes you're running and the other one's walking. And it's okay to be ahead, but don't lose sight. Don't get so far ahead that you leave your mate lost back there going, Sometimes, somebody's real healthy, the other one's on IR. But we're still on the same team. That takes patience by the one who's healthy and takes persistence by the one who's on IR. But you gotta wait up to hold that hand to go, we're still doing this together, even though maybe in this zone right now in my life, I'm flying and you're walking. So certain things that I find, well, she's flying and I'm walking, And so navigating that, how we change as we grow up, and measuring that against who we initially fell for in the first place and seeing, well, they are still that. Of course they changed. Hell, I've changed. I want to say, and a lot of times I know we say it, I know I say it. Well, you've changed. I was like, well, heaven, yeah, I've changed.
I'd hope so.
And doing that with a partner is part of the work, I think, of a relationship.
Sort of talking about transformations, trajectories, pivots, changes. Let's escape Hollywood and go to South America and see what's going on over there. Let's escape singlehood, pivot into a marriage, pivot into family, from dyads to triad to so on.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by the aggressive pivot that you made between different movie categories.
Yep.
And that requires, I think, a lot of courage and hope and self-belief and faith in order to let go of something good for the chance at something that you think could be great.
Yeah.
I think that's something that a lot of people wish that they had a little bit more fuel for.
It was a big risk. It was a big chance, and it was no guaranteed return ticket. It was a one-way ticket, possibly to. I'm a head coach of high school football to this day.
One-way ticket to a dead end.
Or to something new, but a one-way ticket to a dead end in Hollywood. It's an actor for sure. Look, it's no coincidence that at that time, to have the courage to make that decision, I did have really cool things going on in my life. I'd fallen in love with Camilla. She'd just become pregnant with her first child. That gave me some significance of that's what I've always wanted to be. As a father, here we go. If I stick with it, this will give me a home base to feel secure in, even though I'm stepping away from what has given me significance for so many years and decades in my life. Having her to sit there, as much as I knew it was the right decision, and it was a 3 a.m. decision in my own soul, she's always been very good with me about going, now say it out loud, and here's what we're going to do. If we're doing this, she's the one that said, this could be dry for who knows how long. You may not get work ever again, but if we're going to do this, I'll be here by your side, and we're doing it together, and there's no going back. We're not going to get nerves at the goal line if we don't know where the goal line is. We're not going to get down the line and go, I pulled the parachute.
Even if it's a $14 million parachute.
Even if it's $14 million parachute. Even if it doesn't work out and you become a teacher or you go become a lawyer again, whatever. So making that a choice that was inevitable, that there was no pulling the parachute on, sure as hell helped with the endurance of me being away for what was 20 months. I learned a lot of endurance in that year in Australia, though. Same way, that gave me very thick skin for enduring something. So that 20 months was really hard. And I've said it before, that proverbial bottle on the shelf was looking better and better earlier in the day as time went on. I mean, how many more times could I work in the damn garden, man? I'm not a gardener for life. I like this, but I gotta, come on, man. But she helped me stay steady. I stayed steady. My faith helped me stay steady. I did have a real belief, whether I was tricking myself or not, that there's a bigger pot of gold for me on the other side of this if I just out-endure it. I'll out-endure this summit. And it became a little like the year in Australia. I started to gain pride and honor with the longer the penance went on of being without what I wanted. And I started to be like, well, I definitely ain't backing out now, man. I'm 6 months in.
Turns into momentum.
All in a year later, I'm like, I'm a year in, man. This is getting good. Okay, come on. And out of the blue, 20 months later, I'd been gone long enough to become a new good idea. Where's McConaughey? Plus, he said no to that $14.5 million offer 3 months ago. And I guarantee you that told some people in Hollywood, what's this so much up to? You don't say no to a $14.5 million offer. It was the offer's too big to get out. And he said no. Now, someone does that, you get a little more attracted to him. This dude's on to something. He's got his own program. He's playing offense on something. He's not just regressing. And I think that also sent a bit of a signal, it's my hunch, through Hollywood. And then the fact that it was just honestly 20 months, almost 2 years later. Where's McConaughey? We haven't seen him in a rom-com. We haven't seen him on the beach, shirtless. Where is he? He hadn't shown up in front of our faces anyway. I don't even know what he's doing. Does anyone know what he's doing?
Do you fear, or did you fear, not being sufficiently prolific, not being sufficiently sort of front of stage, keeping your name out there? What if somebody else takes that place of me? What if I become irrelevant? What if people forget?
I didn't have any fear of anyone taking the place, because my place at that time was rom-com king. And I was sure, I was like, I'm good. I've done enough of those right now. I don't need another one of those right now. I don't want another one of those right now. If someone steps in to take the place, bravo. I always like to say I took the baton from Hugh Grant, and then I had my time, and I was like,
Who do you think you threw it to?
I don't know. The rom-coms are not, they're definitely not as healthy of a genre now as they were then. We were rolling in the rom-coms. They were like can't missers, man. They're medium budget, 30, 35 mil, so the studio's not blowing their wad on the budget. They come out, they make good money. Studios make good money. I mean, all of them kind of worked. Even the ones that didn't work as well kind of worked.
Yep.
You
Huge
know?
potential audience. Everybody can go see it.
Repeats on Valentine's Day. Come on, you know. So I don't know that did really hand it to. I don't know if anyone's really jumped in that lane, or if that lane's even got a help wanted sign anymore. You know. Did I feel the irrelevance? Sure, I felt the unease of irrelevance. I mean, but then I became irrelevant. I mean, it got to the point where I knew I was irrelevant. It got to the point where I remember my agent saying, I said, you heard anything? He goes, Matthew, I haven't heard your name in over 2 months. I was like, and you're my agent, and you only have 5 clients. He goes, yeah. I haven't even heard your name. I'm like, that sounds pretty much like irrelevance to me, bro. Okay. All right. But never, like, I was shaky, but never was I going to go, okay, I'll go back.
Ripcord.
I'll do it. Never was I going to pull the parachute. And, you know, what if I didn't? What if those calls never came? Would I regret that sitting here now? I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't be sitting here now. But I bet everything I got, there's no way I'd regret it. Whatever I'd be doing in my life right now, I would have said this opened up. We just started off the conversation with this. The things you don't get. Put us more in places where we are, where we find our own satisfaction than the things that we do get in many ways. I mean, like say it's, you know, life's mystery going forward, the science looking back. When you look back, we can all connect every single dot. It's mathematical, scientific how we got to this table right here. We've got plans for this afternoon, but we're not sure what's going to happen. But everything looking back, it's all connected if we go back and look at it. And there's a whole lot of, I thought that was the end. Well, it was the end, but it was the beginning of this thing. Or I caught that red light and therefore made me 60 seconds later to get to that cafe where I met that movie producer or that woman who became my wife or whatever that is. It don't make sense at the time, but boy, looking back, it's all a science.
Trust really is everything when it comes to supplements. A lot of brands may say they're top quality, but few can actually prove it, which is why I partnered with Momentous. They make the highest quality supplements on the planet. 3 of the products that I use to support my brain, body, and sleep are magnesium, L-threonate, creatine, and omega-3s. Honestly, I try to limit the number of supplements that I rely on, but when I take these consistently, they have a massive impact on my cognitive performance, my strength, and my sleep. Momentous are literally unparalleled when it comes to rigorous third-party testing. What you read on the label is what's in the product, and absolutely nothing else. Best of all, they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can buy it, try it for 29 days. If you don't like it, they'll give you your money back. And they ship internationally. Right now, you can get exclusive early access to their Black Friday sale until November 25th. You can get 25% off this very stack, plus a free 5-night trial of their sleep packs by going to the link in the description below or heading to livemomentous.com/modernwisdom and using the code modernwisdom at checkout. That's livemomentous.com/modernwisdom and modern wisdom at checkout. There's that quote about the ironic tragedy is that life has to be lived forward but only makes sense in reverse.
Right. Yeah. Ironic tragedy. Who said that? I mean, what do you think about all the life's the ironic tragedy, life is pain, and it just is nothing but pain, but so if we can endure it. Like my mom, I can't help. She's worn me down with her endurance of her prescription on life.
How old is she now?
92. And she is she's absolute proof of the value of denial if you really commit to it. She absolutely
Committed denialist.
Committed denialist. And it's not an intellectual trick. There's no, I'll intellectually deny it, so then I'll talk myself in, so now I can.
Not faking it until I make it.
Bam.
Yeah.
Fait accompli. No, it didn't happen. No, Mom, it did. No, it didn't. I've said it didn't. It didn't. And she's not. You don't catch her in between the lines or off by herself, realizing, like, oh, well, it did. No, it's done. Non-negotiably done. Her favorite word is yes. Well, Mom, how do you think you lived in so long? Well, I can't imagine not being here. Well, geez, oh, man, that's pretty good. No, I really can't. I honestly cannot imagine not being here. So she's beaten 2 types of cancers on aspirin. And we're like, that doesn't make any sense. And we have to tie her up and haul her to the doctor, the dermatologist, if you get something on her leg. Because going to a doctor, in her mind, is recognition of possible sickness. So you go there, remove a cancer, take some cancer medicine. Do you have cancer? No, I don't. And you wink, and she does not wink. She goes, I don't. I don't. What? Anyway, if you're not following suit, if you don't believe it, next question. That's how she is. And she's not playing a trick. She just does it. It's a full-on commitment to denial, and it's awesome. She would not prescribe to life is painful and you have to get through it. She thinks it's now, mind you, she's very anti because she's someone who, like I said, I think I touched on in the book. She had a horrible mother and parental growth. She did not know how to be a mother. How'd she become a great mother? By saying, I'm doing the opposite of what that bitch did. There's value to that, of going, well, this sucked. I don't know how to do this, but if I just do the opposite.
Dude, I love this idea. So I grew up in a very working class town northeast of the UK, famous only for having the highest teen pregnancy rating in England. And then it lost that, so it didn't even have that anymore. And I think there's that idea of food deserts in America, where it's areas in which it's difficult to get good food. And I think that Stockton-on-Tees in the 90s was a role model desert, at least for me. So I wasn't around many people like the person that I wanted to be like. And at the time, I think I was desperately looking like a thirsty man parched for water for somebody that would be that. But in retrospect, again, ironic, there were a lot of people around me that were people I didn't want to be. And I was able to plant flagpoles in the ground that helped me to avoid the catastrophes and the tragedies that would have awaited me had I have done that. So I don't want his relationship with his family.
Yeah.
I don't want the way that he drinks in order to be able to deal with his emotions. I don't want the way that he speaks negatively about all situations. I don't like the way that...
Yeah.
I think much of life is avoiding pitfalls, not necessarily expediting successes.
Yeah.
The pitfalls can take you out of the game completely in one form or another. And yeah, I don't like dwelling on the negatives in that way, but also that's another version of alchemy that we were saying before. Hey, here's something that you think is useless or toxic or not valuable, and you've managed to turn it into something that benefited you. It's the same reason why teaching people lessons that you've gone through from tragedies, traumas, whatever in your life. It's kind of like pointing at the thing that was bad and saying, you didn't get me. I'm going to make sure that you're not going to get them either.
Yeah, and even looking at the things that are bad and going, oh, thank you. Appreciate that. I mean, the push-off, you have established leverage rather than the create. You're going to lean into something, you also need something to push up. The push-off is what you're leaning into is that mystery going forward, right? That ironic tragedy that you have something to push off well, I don't know what I do want, but I do know I don't want that. You have leverage.
Yes.
Yes. It's there. So, I don't know. I mean, we can get into a big discussion on victimhood here as well, but I wrote about in Green Lights about how, we always say, well, who are you? And I want you to figure out who you are. And I try not to ask my kids that now. Well, I want you to know who you are. And a part of that who's helped me is Bob Dylan's lines, like, I don't know what all this talks about who we are, man. We are all just what we create ourselves to be. And that gives me a little, oh, that's relaxing. But it's so much easier to figure out who you're not. Then if you start eliminating the who I'm not, by sheer mathematics, you end up
moving toward
more of what feeds you and who you are. And it's a hell of a lot easier thing to go, how can I get rid of some bullshit in my life, than it is to go, well, how do I go to my true self?
Do I want to press the accelerator more quickly, or do I want to take my foot off the fucking brake?
Right. Yeah. And sit there and because I'm banging my head here, and I'm going to eliminate some of that stuff. I want to get some of those things out of the way that had another hangover. I drank the same amount. When I didn't, you don't usually have a hangover. Oh, maybe it was the conversations I was having. Maybe it was, maybe it was the people I was hanging out with. Those just clocking some of those things and eliminating them is a much easier place to start. And maybe more valuable. I mean, I don't know. I always like to think that the UFC champ or the boxing heavyweight champ that believes they are the greatest is more empowering than the one who's out for revenge. But man, the one out for revenge wins a lot of the times. The one who's pushing against, I'm gonna get back at you. Rage. Nothing gets more shit done than that emotion. Rage. We like to say, no, freedom and light is the one that carries it. Man, I don't know. That may be too evolved for us to really grab a hold of. Rage and anger and revenge are mighty powerful emotions.
Yeah.
They get a lot of shit done.
Yep. Especially in the beginning, especially for a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a potent fuel that's toxic in the long term. And I think that it's the sort of thing that you use to overcome the activation energy, especially at the beginning of a thing.
Right.
I need something to kick me out. The chip on my shoulder from the kids that didn't believe me in school, the fact that I felt like I was mistreated or victimized or in some form there was some limitation placed on me. Pretty good fuel. That'll get you a long way.
Yeah.
But you do not want to be using that 2, 3, 4 decades down the line.
Well, and you'll what do you call it? Self-implode, because you can't recognize your allies from your enemies, and you start taking it out on your allies. We see it in relationships. You start taking it out on your mate. You start taking it out on your wife, your husband, your lover. And you're like, I'm an ally, man. We're on the same team. But you're back to that non-deserving. No, I gotta bleed. No, I gotta win. I gotta get angry. Now hey.
But also, the lesson that you've taken is enemies are more functional, motivating sources than allies.
Right.
Therefore, if I can make enemies out of allies, I will just find lily pad. I'll just keep jumping.
Yeah, but that, I think what you're saying is that trajectory starts to go lateral.
Well, what have you got left? You've got an entire world filled with enemies, or at least no allies.
Right.
And as someone who used a chip on his shoulder for a good while to get some activation energy, I much prefer the version that I am now. Me and a friend have 3 versions of ourselves that we think about. So we have dopamine Chris, we have serotonin Chris, We have cortisol Chris.
Okay.
And dopamine Chris is lean in. He's thinking about plays on the show and how magnificent big it's going to be and awards and cool money and stuff like that. And cortisol Chris is seeing threats and anxiety. He's looking out for that ambient vigilance that I was saying before. He's on edge. Then serotonin Chris is taking a microdose of magic mushrooms. He's playing pickleball with his friends, or he's lying under a tree looking up at the sky.
Uh-huh.
I want to spend as much time in serotonin Chris as possible.
You do?
Yes, I want to
Okay.
spend as much time in serotonin Chris as possible. And I find
Wait,
myself...
where's serotonin Chris? Magic mushrooms in
Yep.
a hammock hanging with his buddies?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to spend as much time in that as possible. But that wouldn't have got me out. That wouldn't have been the escape velocity that I needed to be able to leave whatever atmosphere I was in. I needed to use these other I needed to run away from a life that I didn't want and run toward one that I did. Needed to escape something that I feared, and I also needed to go towards something. But the real bliss is when you go orthogonal to both of those,
Yeah.
which is...
Heard. Let me ask you this. So, when you're serotonin Chris, magic mushrooms with your buddies in the hammock, how long can you lay in that hammock before you get to the imposters, the thing, hey, I gotta go accomplish? For me, it's going to accomplish something, have some sort of purpose. I'm still working on getting better on vacation. My wife knows that I'm much easier to get along with on vacation if I get a couple hours to write in the morning and get a workout in. Dude, I wish I could go 2 weeks with going, hey man, whatever. But I get antsy, I get edgy. I'm not present because I need a little time to go break a sweat, mentally, physically, and then the rest of the day I'm great.
I love this topic. I've been thinking about it so much recently. Type A people with type B problems. Type B people with type A problems.
Okay.
So the insecure overachiever needs to learn how to lie in a hammock.
Yeah.
And the lazy person who's on the verge of bankruptcy needs David Goggins shouting in their face. Right? Now, the interesting thing is, because of culture and because of the way that people are perceived, a person who is overworked but outwardly very successful will always seem to be in a more preferable position than someone who's on the verge of bankruptcy and needs to get off Xbox. Right? So we gift more sympathy because it seems charitable, right? It seems supportive to the person who you just need to work harder. Think about what you have contributed to the world, which are movies. In every movie, the training montage of the down underdog is them working hard and learning to get up on time and be disciplined and so on and so forth. I don't know of any movies where a guy learns to log out of Slack at 6 p.m. and lie on a beach holiday. Right? How like opulent and transactional and dopaminergic are you that you need to be taught how to chill out? You not know there's people out there that would kill to be in the position that you are?
That's the dialogue right there. That's interesting. How about a movie about a low handicap movie for the type A that needs to learn how to get off Slack and go hang in a hammock and pulls that off. And don't ask permission to tell it. Don't ask for boo-hoos for the character. Just because no one's showing that. I mean, look, what do we do today? What are the things going? You probably know better than I do. There's a lot of. It's like people have gotten much more into meditation. Successful people got much more into meditation. You brought one up earlier. Psilocybin is now sort of an avant-garde sort of hair. Hey man, this is a way to
Breath
deal.
work, cold plunge, sauna, sound healing.
Yeah. Now, how many of those are we going to look at in 10 years and go, that was a fad? How many of those are we going to go, that was a really cool discovery?
But here's the vicious thing about those modalities, that a lot of people, I call it productivity purgatory, which is the things that you do for fun you only do in order to be able to service more productivity when you get back to it.
Right.
So why do you do your breath work? Not because it makes me feel good and I like to do breath work, but because I watched an Andrew Huberman podcast episode that said that it allows me to work 15% harder the next day. You go, no. Like, your recovery modalities should be in service of themselves.
Do you think this is if we're going to call it a sin or disease, I'm going to do that for stereotyping typical word. You think this is a sin or disease of the West? Because, for instance, I'm in Italy. We were with this wonderful couple, older couple, and they were both like 80, and they would just have their shit together, man. And the lady was great. She was like, great shape. She was, I swim around this island each day. And then they swim there. And my question was, how far do you swim? And she was like, what? I swim until I don't want to swim anymore. I was like, it's a very Western idea. How far? How much time? She was like, I swim until I don't want to swim anymore.
You wanted to quantify it.
I was quantifying.
You tracked it on Strava, right? You've got a spreadsheet for this.
You have your
ring.
Or ring on it. She was like, what? She was confused at my question. And I was like, the beautiful stereotypical difference in a European thought and a Western thought. But it's similar to that.
It is very much. I mean, we were playing a friend's birthday earlier this year in Miami, and there was a pickleball court, but we were playing, like good British blokes, we were playing sort of foot tennis instead. And I realized that we were playing to win, and I didn't want to play to win. That wasn't the energy I wanted. I was in dopamine, Chris, and I wanted to be in serotonin, Chris. So I said, why don't we change the rules of the game and work both teams separately, but together to try and make the most beautiful game that we can. I want everyone to be doing trick shots. You want to set up the other side to do trick shots. Some of the guys were good football freestylers, stuff like that. And the first response from my friend that came up with the serotonin, dopamine, cortisol thing, George, his first response was, yeah, and we can count them. And no.
Let's keep the mathematics out of this.
And that's your lady swimming around. How long? How far? How many times?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I'm taking this thought to I'm going to play tennis for 2 hours when I leave here. And the girl I'm going to hit with, as much as I can, I'll see if I can do it. I doubt I can do it for 2 hours, but I'll see how long I can do it.
A little bit.
I'm going to try and set her up for great shots. See how the rallies go.
Yeah. But even then, within that, was that shot better than the last one? Was that more beautiful? It's this infinite fucking regress of performance metrics and all the rest of it. Speaking of which, in other news, this episode is brought to you by Skims. If you've ever wondered how McConaughey makes everything look so effortless, here's a tip. Start with being comfortable. With Skims' new boxer briefs, that's exactly what you get. No awkward adjustments, no bunching, just a perfect fit that moves with you every step of the day. As you may have guessed, the fact that I wear shorts all the time, I'm a massive fan of being as comfortable as possible, which is why Skims are the perfect choice to wear every day. So if you're still holding on to that old pair of briefs from 5 Christmases ago that frankly need to go in the bin, do yourself a favor and upgrade to Skims. Right now you can shop Skims menswear by going to the link in the description below or heading to skims.com. That's SKIMS.com. Fastball. In 6 weeks' time, it's the 10th anniversary of Interstellar. And I think it's being re-released in theaters in 70mm IMAX.
In IMAX.
Yeah.
Okay.
How did that movie change you? It's my favorite movie of all time, so thank you for...
I have a lot of people tell me that's their favorite movie of all time. And that's another that a lot of people had to go watch 4 times.
There's a lot to take in.
There's a lot to take in.
Classic Nolan.
Yeah. How did it change me? You're not talking about like the success of the movie, like
No.
the subject material and everything else.
Either working with Christopher, learning about, Kip Thorne, fucking the consultant physicist on that show, so much stuff.
Also, it was in that sense, it was similar to when I did a movie called Contact, and I got to sit with Carl Sagan for 3.5 hours. And he went through, and I remember walking away from that going, oh my gosh, as a believer, God's backyard's a whole lot bigger than I thought it was, which is a very humbling and empowering thought. But the main thing was, I think, on the human side of the real, me personally, I was like, oh, you don't leave your kids to go do what your dream is. And then when I changed dream, what your dream is to go do what you were meant to do, what you were born to do, that you have an ability to do like nobody else. I was like, ooh, well maybe you do leave your kid. That argument and that leaving, which is that countdown, I remember that's where I was. So that's the scene I remember. Is the price you pay, the cost, the consequence of chasing down. And my initial thought was, Cooper's being selfish in the wrong way. Don't. And then it's a good argument. Like, I don't think you can easily say that. There's a major consequence with that, but look at what. And I deal with it now. I got 3 kids, doing my favorite job. But I think I find extreme and endless purpose in parenting. But I'm dabbling in different versions of leadership that have to do with the betterment, maybe, I hope, of more people. But it would become a consequence of being there and being present like I want to be for my 3 children and my wife as our family. I haven't found anything that I believe is worth that at the sacrifice of this yet. And my argument for myself there is the best exports we can have, we do it well as our children. No better export you can put out, no better extension of yourself, no better way to affect the world than hopefully having some healthy children that can go be independent enough and you taught them when they see the world in the right way and chase down things that they love, and they hopefully love the right things.
So contributing to anything in place of that is a net negative.
Well, that'd be my argument at the sacrifice of fewer that I feel like, oh, that's my lineage. I'm helping give them the palette to paint on, and I'm handing the right colors to them and letting them fall from the right heights to the right trees, to where they get bruised, but hopefully don't break a neck. You know what I mean? But it's a good argument, one that I understand on the other side, and I have friends that have sacrificed that. I have friends that have been very successful, even in the career of being an actor in Hollywood, and a successful actor in Hollywood. This brings me back to when we first had kids, before Camilla pulled the goalie to get pregnant. She goes, one condition: you go, we go. And my first reaction was, hey, I'm lone wolf artist here, man. I go off my airstream with my dog. I'm a solo, coyote here, man. And while I'm saying that, I heard my mother's voice go, you better nod your head and say, she's giving you a gift. Say, yes, ma'am. I did, yes, ma'am. And that, we've done that. I have a 16-year-old, a 14-year-old, and an 11-year-old. No doubt that has a major contribution to whatever strength our family is. And I think our family is very strong, and the security that my kids have and the courage that they have, that because we've never been away from each other that long. They picked up, came with. There's another side. I understand you got opportunities that can do great things. I can share art or leadership in the world that, hey, I'm going to be away. And maybe there's an argument that could be better for your children later on, or maybe better for their children.
But this is we were talking about that infinite regress of being mean to yourself, or it's emotions about emotions and stuff. Thinking about the decision that Cooper needs to make, and also the decision that you need to make, you can always continue to kid yourself a little bit more. Is it more virtuous to stay at home with your children, to raise your children, despite the fact that the likelihood of them surviving into the future and their kids surviving into the future is lessened by that? Okay, but then if you go and do the thing, you leave them, you're making that sacrifice. But are you doing it because you want to save the world, or are you doing it because it's your dream? Or the fact that you can get something virtuous out of something that's also your dream is that fucking Puritan work ethic we were talking about before, which is the only way that this can be a virtuous decision is if I suffer more. It's only suffering, not just that it's good for the future, but also that I don't want to do it, because if I don't want to do it, then I know that it's really, really true, because it's a high price that I pay.
Go pull it off.
And this is, as far as I can see, the curse of the deep thinker.
Amen. 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 A curse and gift. Because it does do one thing that we hadn't brought up at a very base level. And I think this goes along with stress, anxiety. At the very base, it means, in something that we can't take for granted because not everyone has it, it means you give a damn.
Yes.
And let's not throw that out like, oh, of course, no, because not everybody does. It means you give a damn about more than just yourself. And that is that's a high-end value and not an old-fashioned nostalgic thing to go, oh, that's so 1950s. Bullshit. That's a real thing.
So some people can't care, or some people struggle to care about things. There are entire people that go through their lives. It's odd, especially in the UK, loving things, being too keen. Right, Americans kind of have permanent first-line cocaine energy.
Yeah.
Very excited.
Yeah.
And I like it. I like excitable people. I like enthusiasm. However, the UK doesn't necessarily have that quite so much. And I always think how much I wish I could gift that back to the UK, but how much that positive reinforcement, we were saying it before, that first scene that you do, and the guy next to you goes, hey, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
The right encouraging word, the right time. Where would that push people to? And okay, if that's what you want for you in the world, you have the opportunity to be that for other people, and maybe it's going to start to come back around, and maybe we can begin to change culture a little bit by doing this.
When will that English, or does it? Does it have someone, though, that is constantly like, bollocks, that goes and succeeds, that the English culture goes, fucking bravo.
Rarely.
Does it ever?
Rarely. So, interesting stat around the UK. Globally, so far in 2024, the UK has the second highest number of millionaire exits on Earth.
What's a millionaire exit?
A millionaire that has left the country and is now living in a different, a different nation. China first, 15,000. UK second, 9,500. But the UK is 3% of the population of China. So pro rata, we have got by far the most millionaires leaving. By far. We do not have a good culture around supporting success, around people doing different things. Another great example of this, the UK has got 2 or 3 universities in the top 10 in the world, as does America. So it'll be Oxford, Cambridge, maybe King's or Durham in the UK, and there'll be Yale, Princeton, Harvard, something else in the US, and a couple of others. And we have 20% the number of startup founders. Despite the fact that we have the same number of university graduates going from top flight universities. Why? Culture. But speaking of that, what did you learn? You did The Gentleman with Guy.
Yeah.
You spent a good bit of time, presumably, enmeshing yourself into British culture. What did you learn while you were there?
Well, so there is still a royal dance to play the part and do, and that I found that interesting and quite entertaining. I remember, that everything there's a costume and a timing, and who goes here when, and here's how you sit there, and this is how we do this, and I found it very interesting and
Pomp and circumstance.
yeah, it was all there, and I indulged and played that part and enjoyed.
Bit of whimsy.
Now, when I went out and they saw that I was actually a very good shot at pheasants, I got a few. Hey, I got a few attaboys.
Bring the American over here.
Hey, we like you now, right?
It's good with guns.
And then I remember this one though, where the I think the term is where the posh went overboard, but nobody seemed to notice it but me. And we were at this dinner, and it was one of those dinners where 24 people on this side, 24 people on that side. Mrs. is down there and Mr.'s down here. Mrs. has a 24-foot by 18-foot oil painting of herself over her chair, and Mr. has an 24-foot by 18-foot over his chair. And it was just all just fucking great. Everyone had their own waiter. It's all ding on time. And this is just absolutely great. Well, after the dinner, the youngsters, the sons and the daughters, come over with their friends, and they were all also posh to smoke a cigarette, yes. And I remember this one kid flicking the ash. There's an ashtray right down the table. Boom, on the carpet. I was like, dude. And without even saying, he's like, no, man. It's more posh. I'm posturing. It's cooler to go. I can drop my ash on your $550,000 Persian rug than it is to put it in the ashtray. And I was like, well, that one I think y'all went overboard. I think you went out of bounds on that one. But the fact that was games, but they were doing it and consistent.
Isn't it fascinating Americans are basically blind to class. You've had to use the word posh almost in speech marks there.
Right.
It's like a word that
Yeah.
there is not a single school child that doesn't use the word posh in primary school once a day in England. Everybody
And it
understands.
means class.
It means this person is well-to-do from a well-to-do background.
Okay.
And there's, I remember there was a guy that I played cricket with. Cricket's still a working class sport in the UK. It's not necessarily upper class. It's a very working class town. There was a kid who got A-class Mercedes used for his 17th birthday, which is when you can drive in the UK. And I was like, wow. Danny's from a posh family. I never really knew that much about it. I knew he had money. He always had a nice kit. He always had new boots at the start of each season. But I was like, wow, he got a Mercedes. In retrospect, it's maybe a $7,000 car, $10,000 car, something like that. For me, I'm like, oh, posh, posh. Yeah. German.
Yeah. Is there something though going on with as the royal family and the king and the queen are losing power, and that's becoming is these millionaire exits? Is this still a bit of a how dare you become that wealthy in the private sector? You're not a royal? Or
No, I certainly don't think with regards to that, but there is definitely skepticism around the monarchy at the moment. And I'm really not sure where I stand on that. One of my friends, a very compelling argument that we should do away with it. Doesn't like the word Your Highness, higher than what. But also, what was it that you were just saying? Like, what have we got if we don't hold on to the culture and the things that people know us for? And I like the pomp and circumstance. When I graduated from Newcastle University, there's this 10-minute procession of different mace bearers, literally wielding medieval weapons, doffing their caps to different people in different sequences in order to show who and where and why. And it's like, this is fucking cool.
whatever it is, it's still because America, weird. Whether we know it or not, we're hungry for ritual.
Yes.
And we don't have near as much ritual.
It's not established, right? There's trees that are older than your country.
Yeah, we're just puppies. I hope that you don't get watered down to where, because y'all have amazing ritual. Laugh, giggle at it or not, do it and appreciate it and go, this is a different place. And it's been around. It's been around a while. Yeah. Posh. It's class. Okay.
Yeah. A little bit well-to-do.
Okay.
You mentioned there about some of the prices that people need to pay in order to be who they are. I'm fascinated by this question. I'm fascinated by the cost of entry, price of doing business, to be a person that other people admire. Because I think that it helps to humanize others' success, and it helps to mitigate jealousy and envy, because you see what someone has had to go through in order to be in a position that you think you want to be. They go, oh, you get to see this much. By the way, there's this monster hiding behind. What do you wish more people knew about the price of success in life?
Well, success has taken on different definitions over time. It used to have to do, and some people listening to this will be like, come on. It used to have to do with integrity. Or that, actually, I think it was a word that was in the definition in 1901 or 11. And now, money, fame, that's your definition of success. So it seems to be that, and always has been to some extent, whoever has more is more successful. More access, more money, you're the winner. The last, for a lot, that is, I'm not saying it's a race to the red light, but I am saying the fourth quarter of that being your goal, it had the residuals decline on quality of life. I've met many more very rich men who chase that dollar to be successful and to be relevant for having the most money, that the last 15, 20, even younger years were bewildered. lost, had no relationships, didn't have purpose. Chasing the dollar, they just did it. They were good at it. They made it happen, but they didn't feel what they were doing. They couldn't even necessarily say what they were really good at. Just good deal makers who made the right calls in certain mathematics. That's definition. It's also why I wasn't surprised when Trump first got elected. He had fame, he had money. We sell that every day in the West as this is how you make it.
It's America.
This is what you
That's
do.
America.
That's America. Yeah. So I was not surprised because that's what we're getting fed. What is success? Let me rephrase it like this. We all want to be relevant, but I think we all forget to ask ourselves relevant for what before we chase our relevance or chase success. I think there's a difference between success and profit. I mean, profit does pay you back. Can you do things, and I love money, I'm all for it. But I see a lot of one-way tickets that are, you can get successful, win, have more money, but not be making a profit in your life. How many times we sacrifice quality for quantity? The two don't have to be separate. Now, you may have to make some sacrifices of quantity to have more quality, but I think we should give quality more credit than we do.
Well, are we not ultimately having more quantity in the hopes of more quality? You're sacrificing.
No, but that's not a quid pro quo. It doesn't equal out to that. We believe it will, and hey, it can access. I mean, I got a lot of things now for money I've made that I'm like, damn right, man. I'm glad I have that. That makes my life not even more convenient. I like that more. I like what I can do with my family more with that. I like what Camille and I can do as a husband and wife. I like what I can do solo more with that and enjoy it. And again, it feeds me. But would I be any less happy if I had a 30, a 40, a 50th of what I have right now? No. I know that. There's no way. I know way I'd be less happy. No way I'd be less happy. Do I want to give all that away and say, well, it would make me poor? Sometimes I'm like, yeah, you need to be more poor. Other times I'm like, no. Don't be getting the imposter syndrome on this one. You're using it pretty good. You can use it even better, but don't get mad at it. You know what I mean? I think we just need to ask ourselves that question, relevant for what? And also, in the pursuit of quantity, which is what the world rewards, ask ourselves, watch out just drinking the Kool-Aid and go, what is the quality? What do I want? And again, that's a hard question of what do I value the most? What do I really value the most? And it's a hard question to answer, but if we can answer that, make sure it makes us answer the quality question of what we want more of, and not just the quantity question. Because a lot of us, I've done it too, been blind as could be chasing the quantity to see, let me see if I can get the biggest number.
That's dopamine, Matthew.
Dopamine Matthew, and I'm pretty damn good at it. If I want to put on my business hat and go, that's all I'm going to be right here, found out I'm pretty good at it. But I don't want to stay on Dopamine Matthew on that. Because I don't get the reward. I get the reward of the acquisition, but the acquisition does not equally pay back the dopamine of the getting. It's the conquering. That's the hit, you know. Redefine. Everyone can have their own definition of success, and ask yourself, can I have quality with the quantity, and can I have profit with my success? And profit leans into relationships. I think profit ends up to be a spiritual question too, and how we treat ourselves and others. I think it's a longer game. This chase for just success, if that's money and quantity, is a short-sighted game. If that's all you're after. Now I understand some people out there who can't pay their rent or are sick and trying to make it to the next day or would listen to this and go, easy for you to say. And I say, you are correct. I'm speaking from my position because you asked me. Because you got some people that are going, this is a hyperbolic conversation you're having. I'm trying to make it to the next day.
Type B person with a type A problem thinks what a champagne issue that is.
Yeah. It's a real one, and I'm apologizing for it, but I understand the difference. But I would say that more people that are type A or maybe things are working out, just check your quality as you're chasing your quantity, and make sure that whatever you're succeeding at is giving you actual profit and actually paying you back.
Matthew McConaughey, ladies and gentlemen. Dude, I really appreciate you. I love the way that you think. I love your insights about life. Congratulations on the new book. Congratulations on the tequila. And
Thank you.
thank you for coming today. I really, really enjoyed this.
I did too, Chris. Very much. Glad to be here, man. Met up top in a barn somewhere in Austin where I was looking down, didn't even know where I was going. Showed up at a barn. I was like, oh, this is where we are. Yes, it is.
Seems on brand for you.
I like it.
Heck yeah. Dude, until next time.
Until.
Thank you very much for tuning in. Look, we went to a lot of effort to get Mr. McConaughey here and convert an old barn that's from the 1800s in Texas. So I really hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.
Points. But the game is now a slow motion, boring demolition derby. This is most of the experience, just backing into your opponents at the start of the race and then wasting them one by one. What's really being wasted is my time. The computer AI is so terrible. They almost never try to complete a race to win. They just try to run into your car wherever you may be. But if one opponent gets away, they can be tough to track down. And having no ability to see the course map, like you can on the PC version, stinks. And since you get bonus credits in time every time you hit an opponent or every time you do a stunt, it's almost impossible to lose most races. But the challenge ramps up in the ridiculous missions that become platformers. Yeah, platforming in a racing game. This stage has you try to destroy satellites by jumping between buildings to get at them. It's the most stressful thing you can imagine. The hell? It gets even worse in this stage where you have to destroy all the mines in this car amusement park that has ramps and loop-de-loops. You have to be perfect to hit some of these, and that's nearly impossible in the time allotted, especially since it's all trial and error. Oh no, try again! I promise that was dumb luck. Oh, you hard-driving piece of shit! Look at this jump. There's no way to do this with skill. In this stage, you have to make a jump to somehow get to the top of that air traffic control tower. For real? I tried 40 times and I never got close. Yeah, there are power-ups and abilities you can find all over the open stages. Oh wow, turbo boost. But it's all a cherry on top of a moldy lunch leaf.
I'm a big fan of the Carmageddon series, so it's very disappointing that this port is so bad. I even own a copy of Carmageddon 2 Carpocalypse Now, sealed! Sealed? Sealed? Alright, what's next? Scared the crap out of me. I said no scary stuff. I think I'll skip this one for obvious reasons. All right, a Power Rangers game. It's morphin' time!
Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue, developed by Mass Media and published by THQ in 2000. We start with the TV show's theme song, but the audio is super compressed. And where are the vocals? The PlayStation version has the full theme song and video from the TV show to get you hyped.
I was in college when this show first came out.
We start with some high school art stills to tell us the game's story and... Alright. The first stage. Oh boy. You start as the Yellow Ranger trying to eliminate goo by firing some energy bolt from your hands and from your... Wait, what? Crunch Magic! The textures are so bad they look like placeholders. That's not the only weird thing. How about this doofy-ass run? So after this obscenely easy stage, there's a side-scrolling vehicle one, where the player controls a fire engine rescue ranger vehicle, putting out cars that are on fire. There's a lot here. Must be a Tesla dealership nearby. Oh, it's funny. Does their cars burn up? The people yelling for help are way too happy that their car is on fire with them inside of it. All right, I'm being cooked alive. But check out what happens if you accidentally bump into a vehicle. What? Come on. Insurance premiums must suck in this city. Then there's a first-person Megazord battle where the player just spams missiles at the enemy. If you get close, you can also spam punch the dude. There are power-ups too, but this is just sad. It's like the equivalent of an Atari 2600 game in 3D.
Atari. Combat. This
is how the game cycles. There are stages running around where you have to eliminate or destroy items or rescue dummies who don't run away for some reason, while you deal with simple enemies that come at you. These alternate with the side-scrolling vehicle stages and the one-on-one Megazord battles. However, almost no stage provides any true challenge or makes you think at all. In particular, the stages on foot are incredibly easy, especially with all the health pickups and power-ups. So there is little chance of failure unless you have the reaction time of a ground sloth. No offense to any sloths out there.
Maybe I can challenge myself by completing the stage by killing only when necessary. Kind of like a Power Rangers Jedi. Oh my god, is that Grimace? The reason the Mets had such a magical season this year? No, I can't harm him. Grimace, stay away. No, Grimace! Why did you kamikaze me? No wonder the Mets lost in the playoffs.
There are also a few third-person hovercraft stages thrown in where you shoot at enemies and retrieve objects, but it is so lifeless that I wish I were playing Carmageddon 64 again. So this continues with bland stage after bland stage for seemingly forever. This game is so boring and way too easy. This is Fisher-Price, my first N64 game. And Lightspeed Rescue isn't so bad that it can be entertaining in that way. It's just so blah. You know what's incredible? A game based upon a show that features martial arts does not have you use martial arts to defeat enemies, just crotch magic. The PlayStation version does have beat-em-up elements, and while it doesn't look amazing, it at least gets that right. Here's the final stage. Spoilers, there is no strategy nor challenge at all. Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue might have been impressive as a tech demo on the Ultra 64 prototype in 1995, but for the Nintendo 64 in the year 2000, it's a disgrace.
These totally random Nintendo 64 games have ruined my Halloween. I mean, I know a little bit about the console, but I'm the NES punk. If only there was a reasonably priced resource that can help me learn about every N64 game.
Hope Daddy has the answer.
Oh no, not you again!
It's Ultimate Nintendo Guide to the N64 Library. This book contains reviews of all 400 Nintendo 64 games, hardware section, controller variants, console variants, N64 DD reviews, N64 history articles, and much more. Order yours at ultimatenintendo.com. Tell them Wolf Daddy sent you.
Wolf Daddy! A crummy commercial? Son of a bitch!
You know you want this.
Don't look directly at the audience, Wolf Daddy.
Sorry, Pat. It's for the ladies.
Alright, well, this has still been not as weird as some of my past Halloween videos. I'll see you next time.
What the hell is the Amico? That's not sexy.
Your pecs look like ripened pumpkins. Ugh. Ugh, this blow pop is probably 8 years old. What's wrong with me? This isn't Cruising USA. This is Cruising my bunghole.
Track? I'm not mistaken. Could be, right? Mix it up.
Track.
Oh, yeah, look at it. He's got it off center. It's definitely.
Oh yeah.
Come on, Moon.
Max, you can see Max lining it up.
Yeah. Like any second now. Any second now.
well.
There you go.
Beautiful. That's going on the wall. And right back to center. Look at that. What a professional. That's amazing.
Wonderful.
Guys, I can't say
We have
enough.
some.
I just,
They have slow motion.
Yeah, I know it's Halloween season again, but I'm burnt out on doing scary game reviews. I've been doing them for 15 years for the NES, Super NES, Terrific 16, and even the Sega Genesis. I'm over it. No, I'm serious. No spooky stuff this year. But I still want to review a few games. So how about I tackle a system I never did before here? What about, let's see, the Nintendo 64? It'll be a little Halloween themed though. I got my Fire Orange controller right here, and I filled my candy bowl with a bunch of N64 games. So I'm gonna close my eyes and randomly select a few to play right now. It's totally random, I swear. Scooby-Doo Classic Creep Capers? I said no scary games. I'm not gonna do it. But I wonder what would have happened if I did.
Scooby-Doo Classic Creep Capers is an adventure game developed by Terraglyph Interactive Studios and published by THQ in 2000. The year 2000! There are 4 episodes/stages in the game, and each features the Mystery Machine and its crew who are out to solve the mystery. The player controls the hippie Shaggy with Scooby in tow, who does absolutely nothing. The objective is to search and find all the items and to progress in the stage to find more items, all while avoiding the enemies, creepy villain, and security guard who will toss you out of rooms and force you to restart the area. But you can turn the tables on him. Oh, serious concussions are hysterical! When Shaggy finds all the clues and items needed, he can return them to the gang, which then comes up with a plan to trap the disguised villain, and then the player uses Shaggy and Scooby as bait to trap them. It's a simple premise, but it's a slog to play. The game's camera is locked per each section of the room, making movement difficult while trying to avoid foes and obstacles that will scare Shaggy, and if Shaggy gets scared enough, he'll eventually have to restart the stage area. It's especially tough when trying to avoid the big baddie who chases Shaggy around. On the surface, this title feels like a fun time, but it can be frustrating.
Jinkies! These camera angles suck! Scooby-Dooby-Doo! Yeah, maybe it was for the best that I skipped this one. Alright, fresh game. Alright, a Mortal Kombat game. Sub-Zero. This should be a blast. An icy blast.
Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero was developed and published in 1997 by Midway. Unlike the previous Mortal Kombat games, this is not strictly a fighting game, but an action-adventure experience with fighting and beat-em-up game elements. Players control Sub, not a ninja, Zero, who is hired by Quan Chi, who looks like needs more sleep, to retrieve some non-ninja stuff. So you have to beat up foes in a 2D setting, mostly one at a time, while retrieving keys and unlocking paths to reach the end of the stage. Controls are similar to any typical Mortal Kombat game, with 2 punches, 2 kicks, blocking, and running introduced in Mortal Kombat 3. Alright, this first bald dude is going down. What the heck? Why isn't Sub-Zero facing the enemy? Oh, you need to press the B button to turn around? It's awkward to do this while trying to fight, and throws the gameplay flow way off. Time to freeze this sucker. Oh, it's not working? Yeah, Sub-Zero doesn't start with his trademark special moves. They have to be earned through an RPG experience system. There are also health potions and power-ups you can acquire and use. So these one-on-one encounters feel like fighting game enemies and not standard beat-em-up foes who die after a few hits. These should be straightforward battles, but each is annoying since the game doesn't display their health bars. Why not do this? What the fudge? Well, it's a good time to mention that the game has booby traps. And when you die, you have to go through everyone you just defeated again? Ugh. I ran past that Goonies trap. And hey, nice blind hit. All right, what do I do now? Guess I'll just jump and... Oh, dead. Now I'm getting annoyed. But at least I can freeze these fools to speed things up. Let's try this balcony jump again. Get away! Is this on hard mode? This is the first stage, right? I didn't put in a cheat code and accidentally select a later stage? Sweet lord! Okay, let's see. That was medium? All right, very easy. I'll admit I need it. This should be a cakewalk now. Ow! Wait, now there are two of them on very easy mode? I just very easily jumped to my death. This is my 6th time trying this. You have to jump perfectly onto the ledge and then jump forward again to hit an awning and land safely. Yeah, that's intuitive. Well, what the hell? How'd that guy run to me without triggering the trap? The enemies respawn? This is hell enough without respawning enemies. Even Goombas don't respawn. I got the slide attack now and I'm cheesing it. I have no shame. Climbing this rope feels good. Oh shit, no!
This may take a while.
Crushed again. And again. 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 I am not having a very easy time right now. Finally, something resembling a Mortal Kombat fight. But it's weird since the screen keeps Sub-Zero centered, so it's tough to see Scorpion at times. It doesn't truly feel like Mortal Kombat due to this. Eventually, you climb to the top and that ends the first stage. Then there's an awkward cutscene of stills that goes on and on and on. This is longer than Dr. Zhivago. Look it up. At least the PlayStation version has full video cutscenes where you can laugh at the Fox Kids looking production values. Now we're combining platforming with beat-em-up action. Did we learn nothing from Double Dragon on the NES? This stage consists of mostly jumping with the air blowing you and also grabbing the edge of platforms and pulling yourself up. It's like playing the asshole version of Prince of Persia. And then you come to this rotating spoon-looking platform that you have to time the jump for. What? Okay. I think I have it.
So, this is 64-bit gaming, huh?
Finally. It feels like it operates more on luck than anything else. Fluffernutter! And now I'm in a cyclone and have to deal with more platforming fun and face another booby trap before reaching this cosplay Homelander who is beating the ever-living shit out of me. Remember, this is supposed to be very easy. Very easy. Very easy. Very easy. Easy, very. Very easy.
Well, that wasn't fun, but there's no way that title accurately represents the N64 library. Let's move on to the next random game.
This game's broken. Yeah, this one's broken. I can't play this one.
Yeah. Okay, next. Totally random. Oh, okay, Carmageddon 64. I'll enjoy playing this one. I owned the first 2 Carmageddon games on the PC as a teenager. What? I always keep my PC games close by, just in case I have to reference them in a game review.
Carmageddon 64 was published in 2000 by Titus Interactive and is a port of Carmageddon 2 Carpocalypse Now, a vehicular combat PC game from 1998. The first game in the series was originally supposed to be a Death Race 2000 game, hence the theme of running people over. The objective for all of the races is to go through the checkpoints to win. You gain credits in time by performing stunts and jumps. Cunning stunt bonus. That's edgy. However, you can also finish races by wasting all the opponents by driving into them. A third way to win is by killing all the zombies in stages. Zombies? These are supposed to be people with blood. They've censored out the series trademark, running over humans and seeing their bodies splatter, and replaced them with lame zombies who spurt green ooze when you hit them. They even incorporated this lame change into the story, where the Earth's toxic atmosphere has turned everyone into zombies. What the hell? Did Greenpeace write this? Nintendo 64 was supposed to have evolved past censorship. On the 64, we had violent Mortal Kombat games, bad violent Mortal Kombat games, and gory schlocky stuff like War Gods. So what's the problem? These polygon counts are so low, you can barely tell they're supposed to be people anyway. Look at this thing. When playing, the controls are actually not terrible. The braking is effective and the handbrake is nice. The camera can be bad at times, but that's typical for a lot of these early 3D games. If you mess up during the races, which happens a lot, credits can be used to recover your car with L, while R is used to repair vehicle damage, which you will constantly be doing. The best way to finish races is to quickly destroy your opponents. If you do this, afterwards you can repair those vehicles and then use them, which is nice. Different cars, vans, and trucks can be fun, but the game doesn't tell you their strengths and weaknesses, and some are a pain to drive. And no, I'm not buying the $144 manual in good condition from someone named Squirmy Wormy to find out. Spoilers, it's not in there anyway. The graphics are bland and the textures are blah. But let's talk about that hardcore electronic soundtrack. Thankfully, it can be turned down, but maybe it's your thing.
Just need my glow sticks.
Most Carmageddon 64 races devolve into a boring demolition derby where you're constantly running into your opponents. But this becomes ridiculous to do when the other cars fall into water, but it's still slightly more interesting than racing through the checkpoints. But the game is now a slow motion boring demolition derby. This is most of the experience, just backing into your opponents at the start of the race and then wasting them one by one. What's really being wasted is my time. The computer AI is so terrible. They almost never try to complete a race to win. They just try to run into your car wherever you may be. But if one opponent gets away, they can be tough to track down. And having no ability to see the course map, like you can on the PC version, stinks. And since you get bonus credits in time every time you hit an opponent or every time you do a stunt, it's almost impossible to lose most races. But the challenge ramps up in the ridiculous missions that become platformers. Yeah, platforming in a racing game. This stage has you try to destroy satellites by jumping between buildings to get at them. It's the most stressful thing you can imagine. What the hell? It gets even worse in this stage where you have to destroy all the mines in this car amusement park that has ramps and loop-de-loops. You have to be perfect to hit some of these, and that's nearly impossible in the time allotted, especially since it's all trial and error. Oh no, try again! I promise that was dumb luck. Oh, you hard-driving piece of shit! Look at this jump! There's no way to do this with skill. In this stage, you have to make a jump to somehow get to the top of that air traffic control tower. For real? I tried 40 times and I never got close. Yeah, there are power-ups and abilities you can find all over the open stages. Oh wow, turbo boost. But it's all a cherry on top of a moldy lunch leaf.
I'm a big fan of the Carmageddon series, so it's very disappointing that this port is so bad. I even own a copy of Carmageddon 2 Carpocalypse Now, sealed! Sealed? Sealed? Alright, what's next? Scared the crap out of me. I said no scary stuff. I think I'll skip this one for obvious reasons. All right, a Power Rangers game. It's morphin' time!
Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue, developed by Mass Media and published by THQ in 2000. We start with the TV show's theme song, but the audio is super compressed. And where are the vocals? The PlayStation version has the full theme song and video from the TV show to get you hyped.
I was in college when this show first came out.
We start with some high school art skills to tell us the game's story, and all right, the first stage. Oh boy. You start as the Yellow Ranger trying to eliminate goo by firing some energy bolt from your hands and from your... Wait, what? Crunch! Magic! The textures are so bad, they look like placeholders. That's not the only weird thing. How about this doofy-ass run? So after this obscenely easy stage, there's a side-scrolling vehicle one, where the player controls a fire engine rescue ranger vehicle, putting out cars that are on fire. And there's a lot here. Must be a Tesla dealership nearby. Oh, it's funny, because their cars burn up. The people yelling for help are way too happy that their car is on fire with them inside of it. All right, I'm being cooked alive! But check out what happens if you accidentally bump into a vehicle. What? Come on. Insurance premiums must suck in this city. Then there's a first-person Megazord battle where the player just spams missiles at the enemy. If you get close, you can also spam punch the dude. There are power-ups too, but this is just sad. It's like the equivalent of an Atari 2600 game in 3D. Atari.
Thank you for being here. We're going to raid somebody. Nice laser skip, brother.
There are stages running around where you have to eliminate or destroy items or rescue dummies who don't run away for some reason, while you deal with simple enemies that come at you. These alternate with the side-scrolling vehicle stages and the one-on-one Megazord battles. However, almost no stage provides any true challenge or makes you think at all. In particular, the stages on foot are incredibly easy, especially with all the health pickups and power-ups. So there is little chance of failure unless you have the reaction time of a ground sloth. No offense to any sloths out there.
Maybe I can challenge myself by completing the stage by killing only when necessary. Kind of like a Power Rangers Jedi. Oh my god, is that Grimace? The reason the Mets had such a magical season this year? No, I can't harm him. Grimace, stay away. No, Grimace, why did you kamikaze me? No wonder the Mets lost in the playoffs.
There are also a few third-person hovercraft stages thrown in where you shoot at enemies and retrieve objects, but it is so lifeless that I wish I were playing Carmageddon 64 again. So this continues with bland stage after bland stage for seemingly forever. This game is so boring and way too easy. This is Fisher-Price, my first N64 game. And Lightspeed Rescue isn't so bad that it can be entertaining in that way. It's just so blah. You know what's incredible? A game based upon a show that features martial arts does not have you use martial arts to defeat enemies, just crotch magic. The PlayStation version does have beat-em-up elements, and while it doesn't look amazing, it at least gets that right. Here's the final stage. Spoilers, there is no strategy nor challenge at all. Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue might have been impressive as a tech demo on the Ultra 64 prototype in 1995, but for the Nintendo 64 in the year 2000, it's a disgrace.